So our next concept is interpretation of long line equations. In the last class, we are discussed the analysis of longer transmission lines and the representation of longer transmission lines. But now we are going to discuss about interpretation of long line equations. Interpretation of long line equations means we have to discuss the applications and the development of long line equations. So here, from the rigorous method, in that approximation, we have to introduce one parameter, that is gamma, that is a propagation constant. So that is from that gamma square is equal to yz. Gamma can be written as square root of y by z here, where y is the admittance per unit length, z is the impedance per unit length, and where gamma is a complex number and which can be expressed as gamma is equal to alpha plus j beta. Where gamma is a propagation constant. Which propagation constant? Wave propagation constant through the longer transmission line. Wave propagation constant means here our alternating wave, power wave, AC wave propagating through the transmission line. So propagation constant can be represented with gamma. Here this gamma is a complex number which can be expressed as gamma is equal to alpha plus j beta, where alpha is a real part called attenuation factor and beta is the imaginary part called phase constant. Is it? So this wave analysis can be helpful with the help of long line equations. Is it? So like that we have to define a propagation constant as well as attenuation constant and a phase constant from the long line equations. And from the voltage equation and current equation, we can observe that Z0 is there. Where Z0 is called a characteristic impedance of line, and gamma is called the propagation constant. Is it? So hence here from V, this V can be expressed in terms of gamma like this: VR minus Z0 IR by 2, VR plus Z0 IR by 2 e power gamma s, simplifications. And if we can consider this gamma is alpha plus j beta, we are already discussed that gamma is alpha plus j beta. We can substitute that alpha plus j beta here, and also some phase constant means some phase shift also there. We will add it here. Phi 1 is the phase shift. Is that for real part? Oh, sorry, for one part here. Is that? And this is the phi 2 is the phase shift, another part. Is there two parts totally voltage and current here? Is that one part is having phi 1 phase shift, another part is having phi 2 phase shift. Is that? So now from this we can define that the phi 1 is an angle. That means which angle means at an angle of VR plus Z0 IR, and phi 2 also angle for VR minus I0 Z0 IR. Z0 it is. That's why here phi 1 is for VR minus Z0 IR. Phi 2 is for VR plus Z0 IR. That means VR minus Z0 IR means, what is that? VR minus Z0 IR means ascending and sorry, it is VR minus Z0. We have Vs is equal to VR plus Z0 into IR, which is ascending end voltage. VR plus Z0 IR means ascending end voltage, but VR minus Z0 IR means which is the load voltage, or otherwise capacitor voltage. Oh, sorry, not load voltage, it's the voltage across the capacitor. It is the voltage across the capacitor. So that's why here this portion belongs to the phi 1, this portion belongs to the phi 2, and those phi 1 and phi 2s are represented like this. At an angle VR plus IR Z0, phi 2 means at an angle VR minus IR Z0. Is that like that we can represent? And from this, the instantaneous voltage V of t can be written as V is equal to VR minus Z0 IR by 2 e power minus alpha plus j into omega t plus beta plus phi 1 into s, where s is the distance of what is that our analysis, the distance of parameters from the receiving end here. Is it a distributed parameter? This distance of distributed parameters, instantaneous voltage, that's why omega t. Here also omega t. and where Z0 is called a characteristic impedance of a line here. And this Z0 is also called as a surge impedance or a natural impedance of a transmission line. Then how to define this surge impedance? It is very important concept. Surge impedance is the characteristic impedance of a transmission line. It is also called as natural impedance. Then what is the definition of surge impedance? We know that Z0 is equal to square root of Z by Y here. Is it? So for a lossless line, Z is equal to J omega, which is already know that. Because of for a series impedance only, what happened here? Inductance is there. R plus JXL is the impedance. Is that right? So where for lossless line, that means lossless means I square R is equal to 0. When R is equal to 0, I square R is equal to 0, then the line is called a lossless line. Is that right? And here only XL is there here. J into XL is there only. For lossless line, Z is equal to JXL because of R is equal to 0 for lossless line. So then XL means 2 pi F into L. 2 pi F means omega. That's why Z is equal to J into omega L. And Y means here for a lossless line, generally Y is nothing but reciprocal of impedance. Admittance. Is that right? But here what happened? Conductance is 0 because of our lossless line. R is equal to 0. G are 1. G also 0 we can consider. Is that? So that's why what happened here means 1 by that means Y is equal to J omega C. This is already defined. 1 by 2 pi F C. Now if this omega C can goes to numerator, minus value J is there. So that's why here J omega C. Y is J omega C for lossless line. So then what happened here means we can substitute Z and Y in Z0. Z0 is equal to square root of J omega L by J omega C. J omega can cancel out. Then Z0 is equal to square root of L by C. Square root of inductance of line divided by capacitance of line. Is that right? So generally for overhead lines, this characteristic impedance is 400 ohms. And for underground cables, it is 1 by 10th of this value. 1 by 10th of overhead transmission line means 1040s. That's why here underground cables Z0 is 40 ohm and its angle can be varies from 0 to 15 degrees. Is that? So that's why overhead lines Z0 is 400 ohm and underground cables Z0 is equal to 40 ohms. Anyway, simply surge impedance means it is a characteristic impedance of a transmission line, which can be defined as, which can be calculated with the square root of L by C, where L is the inductance of a transmission line, C is the capacitance of a transmission line when it is distributed uniformly through the length of a longer transmission line. Is that right? So from this we can define one more parameter, that is surge impedance loading. What is meant by surge impedance loading here? Simply, surge impedance loading means surge impedance loading of a transmission line is defined as the power delivered by a line to purely resistive. Generally, load is connected to the transmission. Is that? So when the power is delivered to the resistive load by the transmission system, what is this? Generally, the load is applied to the receiving end system is AC voltage. In AC we called impedance. But what is this? Resistance means it is for only DC, but impedance Z is exist. But here the thing is, when the power delivered by a line to purely resistive load, then the type of loading on a transmission system is a surge impedance loading. Is that right? So when it is exist means when the transmission system having surge impedance, then this type of loading is exist. Is it? Surge impedance means it is purely ohms. It is purely ohms here. Is it? That's why here when the load will becomes a resistive load means when inductive nature, capacitive nature cancel out. Remaining parameter is only resistance. When inductive parameter, capacitive parameter cancel out means now we will see. See here. the transmission line generates a capacitive reactive volt amperes. Why? Always a capacitance is connected between line to the neutral. Any one of the line conductor to the neutral. That's why shunt capacitance is formed between line and neutral. That means due to shunt capacitance, what happens? Means always leading wires, leading reactive wires are developed. Leading reactive wires means power generated by the capacitor. Power generated by the capacitor. Always capacitor generates power, and that generating power injecting to the capacitor. Injecting to the capacitor, and that injecting power can be absorbed by the inductor, series inductance. That's why that absorbing power of series inductance is called reactive volt amperes. What type of reactive volt amperes? Lagging reactive volt amperes. Capacitor generating power is called leading reactive volt amperes. Inductor absorbing power is called lagging reactive volt amperes. Then, when this generating power by the capacitor and absorbing power by the inductor is equal, then what happens? Then the load on the transmission line is called surge impedance loading. Is it? When the load at which the inductive and capacitive reactive volt amperes are equal and opposite, such load is called surge impedance. Such load is called surge impedance. Is it? Surge impedance loading. That load is called surge impedance loading. Now we will derive an expression for surge impedance loading. Let V is equal to phase voltage at the receiving end. L is equal to series inductance per phase. XL is equal to series inductive reactance per phase. XSI is equal to shunt capacitive reactance per phase. Z0 is the surge impedance loading per phase. Then capacitive volt amperes, the generated capacitive volt amperes can be expressed as V square by XC. 1 by XC means what happens? J omega C, but in magnitude simply omega C. In magnitude simply omega C. That's why generated power is V square omega C. And the inductive reactive volt amperes absorbed by the inductor is I square XL. Is it? XL means J 2 pi FL in magnitude I square omega L. And at which load these two are equal, that is called surge impedance loading. That is the condition for surge impedance loading. That's why inductive absorbing power, capacitor generating power equal or will becomes equal. Then V square omega C is equal to I square omega L. Then V by I is equal to, what happened here? V square by I square is equal to omega L by omega C. Then finally V by I is equal to square root of omega into L by omega into C. Omega get cancelled out. Then finally square root of L by C. Where square root of L by C means we are already derived. That is Z0. Characteristic impedance or natural impedance or surge impedance. If P0 is natural load of line, then the single phase surge impedance loading is P0 is equal to Vp Ip cos phi. Vp means phase per phase voltage, Ip means per phase current. When here the surge impedance loading is which is when the load is delivered by the transmission to the resistive load. That is the surge impedance loading. We are already defined at the definition. That's why resistive load means cos phi is equal to 1. So then P0 is equal to Vp into Ip. Then Vp into Ip means Vp by Z0. Vp is equal to Ip into Z0. Then Ip is equal to Vp by Z0. Then substituting here, P0 is equal to Vp square by Z0 watts per phase. This is per phase one. But for 3 phase, line voltage VL is equal to root 3 into V. From this relation, that means so for this is line voltage, this is what happened, root 3 into V. Then finally surge impedance loading is equal to, for 3 phase surge impedance loading, 3 into single phase value. That's why 3 into P0, that's why 3 into Vp square by Z0. Then 3 into Vp square means what? 3 into Vp square means it is VL square. Is it right? That's why VL square by Z0 is the VL square by Z0 is the 3 phase surge impedance loading. Vp square by Z0 is the single phase surge impedance loading. Is that right? That's why we can derive expression for the surge impedance loading. Now we will see the significance of surge impedance loading. If we can observe, what is the significance of surge impedance loading means? Generally, due to the surge impedance loading always depends upon the load here and also voltage of the transmission. Practically, the surge impedance loading always less than the maximum loading capacity of the line because of the load on the transmission system is a purely impedance load. Is it right? But under transient situation, is it right? Due to any problems occur in the transmission system, what happens if the load less than the surge impedance loading, reactive voltamperes are generated, and due to the reactive voltamperes are generated, receiving end voltage is greater than the sending end voltage. On the other hand, if surge impedance loading is less than the load, voltage at receiving end is smaller because line absorbs reactive power. Because the line absorbs reactive power. This is the significance of surge impedance loading. Generally, always surge impedance loading is less than the maximum loading capacity of the line. But during any situation when there is a discriminating differences in the generated reactive gas and absorbed reactive gas. That means when generated reactive gas are more, charging currents are more, capacitive currents are more. What happens? Generating reactive gas generated power from the capacitor. Capacitive power is more. What happens means load is less than the surge impedance loading. When the absorbed power, that means inductor absorbed power from the line is more, what happened? Surge impedance loading is the actual load is more than surge impedance loading. That means due to this, what happened? Receiving end is that is the voltage at the receiving end is smaller. These are the problems. If the receiving end voltage is more, that is a problem. If the receiving end voltage is less, that is a problem. If receiving end voltage is more, what happens? Short circuit occur. The connected equipments are burn out, damaged. If the receiving end voltage is lesser, we did not supply continuity of power supply or quality of power supply to the distribution system by the transmission system. That's why always we will maintain a proper proportionalities. Is that right? So when we will maintain the proper proportionality means when we will maintain in the surge impedance, actual transmission line impedance, accurate values we will maintain. Then we can also maintain the appropriate voltage levels of receiving end, and finally we will provide quality and continuity of power supply. Finally, we will protect the connected loads of receiving end. Okay, thank you.